Round 11 of the F1 2022 Championship comes to Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and with only 4 rounds to go in this season, the pressure is starting to ramp up on all the drivers. As promised, Renault showed up to Friday practice with big updates to bring them back into the fight, with Esteban Ocon stating he hoped they could match Red Bull like in the opening races. But that might not be enough to challenge for a podium, with Ferrari, Audi, and Mercedes looking equally strong. Carlos Sainz especially seemed determined as ever to punch back in the championship fight, with the Spaniard trading top times with Leclerc all Friday. And Ferrari will be needing Leclerc to bounce back from the horrendous poor luck he's had of late and support his teammate in the fight back the prancing horses are aiming to have in the Constructors. With aarava backing up this desire by stating, quote, "For me, the Drivers' Championship isn't enough. I want to win the team a championship before I say goodbye to this sport." Christian Horner remained cryptic about his hopes for the remaining races, simply saying he has faith in his drivers to continue to control their current situation. But with Audi and Red Bull level on points, the media has questioned if that's really the situation they want to be in. Brazil has been known to throw up some very surprising results in the past, and no team can rest on an easy, controlled race strategy. Only time will tell, however, as we head into a very tense Brazilian Grand Prix. Taking a look now at the starting grid for the 2022 Brazilian Grand Prix, and it's Carlos Sainz who topped the timing screens at the end of Q3, nearly dipping into the 103s. He's joined by the leading Mercedes of Max Verstappen on the front row, less than a tenth between them. Row 2 is all prancing horses, with the Ferraris locking it out, Leclerc getting the better of aarava, although the paddock expects those positions to switch rather early in the Grand Prix. The upgraded Renault of Esteban Ocon was good enough for 5th position after setting an identical time to aarava. He'll start alongside the leading Red Bull of Pierre Gasly. Jack Aitken will once again be staring at the gearbox of his teammate from the grid in 7th position. He's joined by the leading BMW of Sergio Perez, 3/10 off the pole time. And rounding out the top 10, it's Vettel 8 positions behind his teammate, and Antonio Giovinazzi 4 positions behind his, both drivers just over 4/10 slower than Sainz was. Just outside the top 10, we find the other BMW of Bottas, along with Stoffel Van Dorn, back on his favorite row of 6th and leading the Jag-powered cars as per usual. He'll also start ahead of the other Mercedes of Schumacher, who again struggled on Saturday and lines up alongside the McLaren of Lando Norris. As per usual, the McLarens were very close in quali, just 9 thousandths down to Daniel Ricciardo, who joins the Haas of Hulkenberg on the 8th row of the grid, about a second off pole. It's then an over 3/10 gap down to the other Haas of Wehrlein on row 9, who only narrowly outpaced the other Jag of Nico Kari, another driver well behind his teammate. And on the final row, it's all Alfa Romeos, with Ilott unsurprisingly getting the better of Fuoco heading into the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver career mode, episode number 11 today for Season 8 at the Brazilian Grand Prix here in Sao Paulo. If you guys did miss episode number 10, the previous one uploaded 2 days ago, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A fantastic episode around the Spanish Grand Prix. Had everything: monsoon rain at the start, a mixed up grid, and a fantastic race there for us personally as well, because going into this then, we lead the Drivers' Championship ahead of Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz. Close margins between us three, and so with 4 rounds to go, including this one, and the sprint round is the next one, this is a pretty crucial race. Going into that sprint round, we know the sprint race can throw up whatever the case, and that can jiggle things up quite a bit, so we need to hopefully have a really strong race going into that, and then the final run to the end of the season. And of course, it's also an equally important race for the Constructors' title, because that's still wide open, level on points are Red Bull Racing and Audi, and then we are a further 8 points back in Scuderia Ferrari, so me and Charles Leclerc need to do a great job today. Of course, he had his fair share of bad luck last time out, so hopefully he can turn that round and we can have a good one today. But Brazil is going to be a tough one, it always is. But after getting my very first win for Scuderia Ferrari, feeling very confident going to this one, so let's get into it as we go to 5 red lights then for the Brazilian Grand Prix here in the 2022 season. 5 lights are out and we're underway. It's a great start for us, an equally better one for Max Verstappen, who gets it into first place from second place on the grid. Down the inside of turn 1 he goes, and he leads the way ahead of Carlos Sainz, the pole man. We tried to make a move into the center S on our teammate Leclerc. Didn't quite work out. Now we're on the curbing there on the right hand side, trying to make a move on the outside. He holds the inside line to defend, and there goes Pierre Gasly out of nowhere. He's overtaking both Renault cars, I think that was, and now he's sent it down the inside of me, and he's fully sent that stamp, and he's actually made it work. But we're going to come back at him up the hill into sector 2. Not going to let him have that move as easy as that looked, and we're going to fend off him down the inside, parking on the apex, but he's got the traction. Surprised that actually at that, and he comes out of nowhere again down my inside. So Gasly in the Red Bull car definitely working quite well on heavy fuel, and twice there he surprised me down the inside of a corner, which I thought I perfectly had. So we're down into P5 now, I think that will be, but we're going to take a look at the replay then of Pierre Gasly's start, because not only was the start great, but then that move he made initially on me and the two Red Bulls was really great. But he gets it ahead of Jack Aiken, I think that is, but then into the center S. Aiken has it down his inside, so he's actually on the back foot here, and look at that further up ahead. That's how far I was ahead battling Leclerc, but then he's about to make a double overtake on both Renaults, and then look at this, a great dive bomb down the inside of me. Catch me unawares, of course. I was just focused on Leclerc, and he's actually got me there. Then, of course, we get a bit of a slipstream in tow down his inside, up the hill. We're able to get it, and then obviously we go side by side, and he's able to then out-traction us as we go through the right-hand down the long way round. He has to go, but then, oh, look at that. Big punch of throttle there, and he's able to get us down the inside. So we have to try and chase after him, and we do so as we move on now into lap 3. So 2 laps gone from the opening one, and the order has not changed. We're still P5 behind Pierre Gasly in P4, but now we have DRS. We have a great run. Here's DRS as well, but we have a much better run down the inside of Sector 1 into Sector 2. It's oh so close on the right-hand side, but we've got it, and we cut back onto the racing line, and that's a pretty simple move, actually, up into B4. I was ready for a bigger fight than that with Gasly, considering how the opening lap went, but maybe his tyres are going a little bit off. Behind him, though, are still the two Renaults, Ocon from Jack Aiken. Then you've got the other Red Bull car of Antonio Giovinazzi, and then Sebastian Vettel, who had a really poor qualifying around here in Brazil. Ever since the Spanish Grand Prix last time out, he's been on the back foot a little bit compared to his teammate Carlos Sainz. And so Vettel trying to make his way back up into this Grand Prix, whereas his teammate is in a pretty comfortable position in P2 at the moment, still trying to chase after a controlling Max Verstappen for the second time in a row now in a Grand Prix. Verstappen is trying to control the race in his Mercedes car. That's much improved from the beginning of the season, of course, after he made the swap from Audi with Sebastian Vettel going the other way. But you can see now on lap 5, Gasly is the one attacking me once again, and we're deep into this next corner, locked up on the right tire, and he's actually got the nose in there. He's made a little bit of a dive, and Gasly's now found the grip round the outside. We're toe-to-toe on what is usually a flat-out left-hander down the hill before we go up the hill once again for the last couple of corners of the Brazilian track, and now we're trying to get back in the slipstream. Gasly ahead, though, and has the advantage, but we're going to have DRS and the slipstream now. Down on the left-hand side, we'll be on the inside for turn 1. It's a drag race across the line, and I fancy winning it into turn 1 of lap number 6. Now Gasly's still on the right, bit of contact's made, and also on the left, the Renault comes out of nowhere of Ocon. It's 3 wide on the exit of the center S, and Aiken's not too far behind her, but it's the Renaults that are attacking us now. Improvements for this weekend, upgrades to the Renault power units and aerodynamics, and so now they're having a bit more of a fight than they have done in the previous rounds, but we're still haggling the Frenchman of Pierre Gasly, and he's got it ahead of us there. We have to kind of back out that into turn 1. I was so scared of Ocon lopping off a bit of my front wing there, and equally so up the hill, afraid of Gasly turning into me there, and so lockups galore, and now I'm losing composure in this race. It's obviously towards the end of the first stint as well, so tyre wear may be a factor. I haven't checked that on the heads-up display on the right-hand side on my screen, but Ocon now is down the inside. That's Aiken, actually. That's Aiken. The younger of the two in the Renault has got me, and actually it's Ocon the one that's still attacking me. So well done, Jack Aiken then. He's managed to get Ocon somewhere in Sector 2 then, or maybe it was in the battle into Turn 1. Maybe I was mistaken the entire time, but it's Aiken ahead of me, and then Ocon's the one behind. And now we're going to try and re-overtake our fellow Brit then on the inside of lap 7. This time, can we get this done on the inside of Turn 1? No, not quite. I have a history of being quite poor into Turn 1 and 2, I can't lie. So this is proving difficult. But now on the second bite of the cherry with DRS down the straight to the end of Sector 1. DRS wide open. You can see behind Giovinazzi attacking Ocon. We've got the move down the inside of Aiken. That was a really nice camera angle, actually, to take a look at that fight between the Red Bull and the Renault behind us. We can see the Renault upgrades clearly working quite quite well, because they're pretty much level footing with the Red Bulls this weekend, pretty much how they were at the very start of this season. But now Ocon is going to come in, so he was obviously the second Renault out of the two down the line, but he's decided to come in early, and he's going to try and undercut. So I'll be curious to see if that's going to work out for him. He's going to be onto another set of super soft tyres, so he's going aggressive, and you know what, I'm going to follow him in on lap 9 here. You can see there, after Gasly made the move on me, I lost a bit of composure, and I feel like also the tyre wear was kicking in, so I'm going to come in and kind of match Ocon there and cover him off in a way, and I think the undercut should be a way to go. It has been in the past at the Brazilian Grand Prix, so let's see. So onto another set of super soft red tyres to match the red on our car, and so now we'll see where Ocon is. I believe he should be somewhere around there. I think that might just be his Renault going through on the left-hand side of your screen there. I think that is through turns 2, and so as we wind through the pit lane exit, there he is at the bottom of your screen. That is the Frenchman Esteban Ocon in the Renault, and he is ahead of us. He's jumped us, so that's proof that the undercut has worked. So my undercut should work to overtake Aitken and also potentially Pierre Gasly, because those two might be going a little bit longer, it would seem. So we move on to then that outlap on lap number 10. And unlike a lot of other cars I've had in the past in my career, the Ferrari is very good in straight line at the moment ever since those upgrades in Monaco, and we open the DRS and walk past Esteban Ocon despite him taking the fast lap of the Grand Prix so far. So that bodes well for us, obviously using the fresh tyres to good effect, trying to make this undercut work as best as we can. We did have some time to find before we even got to the point where we might be alongside Gasly as he came out of the pit, so we need to get the hammer down basically. And meanwhile now it's time for some of the other guys to make their pit stops. Verstappen is in from the race lead, my teammate Leclerc is in from P3, but Gasly remains out on track along with, you saw, Carlos Sainz. So Sainz and Gasly, my main two title rivals, are staying out in this Grand Prix. So are they trying an alternative strategy maybe with a set of medium tyres, which would be interesting? It's not really the go-to race tyre, but we'll see how that plays out for them. But for now, we're going to try and make the move now on our junior team, Alfa Romeo, down the inside of Antonio Fuoco. They made it life a little bit difficult, of course, with 4 rounds to go. They're playing for everything, trying to overtake Haas in the championship, so fair enough, they're trying to go as well as they can. But of course, you'd like to think they can maybe move out of the way, but at the moment they haven't moved out of the way for Charles Leclerc, and they've held up my teammates so much so that now I'm having a pop at him. Leclerc was miles ahead of me on track before, but now with 2 laps in traffic behind Callum Ilott there, Leclerc now has been overtaken by yours truly on lap 15, but he's going to come back at us now. He'll have DRS to use on the right-hand side. We're on the inside trying to defend as best we can, but Leclerc the long way round, he's got the advantage there, but we come back at him. It's now neck and neck pretty much, and Gasly, he's out behind us on medium tyres, you can see on the top left. And as we go up the hill, we're going to let Leclerc through. I could have continued fighting him, but I'd rather just let him through, not lose too much time, lose us both time in fact in that fight, because we both need to score well at this Grand Prix if we want to try and overtake the likes of the Audi and the Red Bull. So at the moment, still, Max Verstappen still leads the way from Carlos Sainz in second place on medium tyres, and then you've obviously got Leclerc in P3 a bit further back, then we're in P4 ahead of Gasly, equally also on medium. So those two, my rivals, are the only guys on mediums in the top flight at the moment that I know of, and now Gasly is getting some speed ahead. Obviously, I've been on these tyres for a fair few laps now, and they're starting to wear out a bit faster than the mediums, and Gasly has a great run. Obviously the Chevy engine working really well in the back of the Red Bull. We're going to squeeze him to the inside, to the wall. It's not worked out though. Gasly's still kept on the inside. We've got a bit of a tank slapper there on the rear end. Try to plant the power as early as we could. Didn't work out. We have to cut back in for some slipstream, cut to the left hand side of this circuit. We've now got DRS on Gasly there, so it's not worked out. Obviously we ended up behind the DRS detection point, so now we can fight back. But another big dose of oversteer. You can see I'm really pushing the car hard because Gasly's giving me a great fight here, and unlike the opening few laps, it's not going to be an easy pass this time round because he's got the pace, and it seems like the medium tyres are working a lot better than I thought, and a lock up into sector 2, and he's still going to be honest as we climb the hill now for the second time in a row now. Gasly will be down our inside this time. Going to force him to the inside a little bit easier, so because we can try and focus on our braking this time round on the outside, sweep round, and this time round we have a much better entry into turn 2. I'm trying to squeeze him out, but he's got the elbows out, and he's forcing me wide, nearly off circuit on the curbing there. And also look who's joined the party. Jack Aitken is right up our gearbox as well, so it's going to be a 3-way fight nearly. We're still trying to go the long way round on the Frenchman, but my fellow Brit Jack Aitken might also have something to say about it in this fight. Up the hill though, down the inside, forcing Gasly wide. Oh my god! Aiken's hit us! We're in the wall! We've broken a bit of our front wing! Aiken's completely ploughed us off the road, and now we're down to P7. Giovinazzi's overtaken us. It's been an absolute disaster and a half for us here at the Brazilian Grand Prix. The last third of the Grand Prix to go, and we've got major front element cascade damage on the front wing. That's Sebastian Vettel's Audi right behind us, closing up. We know how Audi are so poor at aerodynamics, but he's closing up so quickly now due to the amount of wing I've lost there. We have to box in this lap for soft tyres, and we're going to have to drag those softs in the Grand Prix. That's the only way I can score points today, probably, is by dragging this set of soft tyres right to the end of the Grand Prix. But in a flash, my race turned out from really great. It was going to be maybe a 3-4 for Ferrari, maybe even better if Leclerc closed up to Verstappen or Sainz or something happened there. But now it's all gone down the drain. We're onto soft tyres. New front wing needed. It's a slow pit stop. And now I'm left questioning what on earth is going to be of our race results. And we won a race last episode at the Spanish Grand Prix, and in an instant, it's just gone down the opposite direction. You just can never call it in MyDriver. Things might go right up, and they might come crashing right back down in the very next instance here. And so now we're out to lap 22, and we are last place in the Brazilian Grand Prix. It is not looking good, ladies and gents. It's not looking good. But before we get back to the track action to see how we can do now following that incident, let's take a look at said incident in a replay. And there's no other way I can really describe it but an assassination by the Renault on me as we come down the inside there. And just look at that whack. That is such a hefty hit by the Renault. He's taken so much more speed into the corner than me and Gasly, and just has no spatial awareness. For Jack, it doesn't seem like he's even realised there's been much contact. The hand of anger goes up for him, but from Gasly's perspective, look how much of a punt that is on my front right there. I went down the inside of Gasly, was taking him a little bit wide, to be fair, but that was due to me trying to squeeze Gasly out, but that forced me off the racing line a tad. And then Aiken just thinks, okay, I'll send it down the inside then of both of you, and just didn't have the grip to keep it tight enough on the line, and just went out wide and just smacked me off, and then we're straight into the wall. So it's still Verstappen leading from Carlos Sainz. Leclerc is in third place. Then it is Pierre Gasly chasing after Aiken still, but Verstappen now is going to be in for his pit stop. Then obviously the last third of the Grand Prix, his second and final stop of the afternoon, onto a set of soft tyres. So to be fair, it could have been a lot worse, because I could have been so much earlier in my stint, but I came in maybe 1 or 2 laps earlier or later than I would have wanted onto a set of soft tyres. So I've almost matched what my race strategy was going to be, because I was basically going to mirror Verstappen, and also ironically mirroring Aiken here, because he's in on the very next lap onto soft tyres. But now I have to push that much harder and then worry about the potential tyre wear ramifications right at the end of the Grand Prix rather than right now. So we send it down the inside of our former teammate Verline in the Haas, and we're up into P19, and so we've got many more passes to make if we want to even get some points this afternoon. Of course, some people are still yet to make their pit stop. Carlos Sainz leading the way, yet to make his second pit stop of the Grand Prix. He's still on medium tyres. Verstappen, though, in second place on those brand new spanking set of soft tyres. In third place, then, is Pierre Gasly, who's still on mediums as well. So both my rivals are going long on the mediums, and then potentially going to go on to super soft. Then it's Giovinazzi in the second Red Bull car, ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who's also on mediums. So both Audis, that's their game plan this afternoon. Audis are going long on mediums and then going on to super soft potentially. As now we are fighting Nico Kari on the outside. He squeezed us towards the grass there. That was on the right hand side, but we get it, and we have enough balls to just keep that in, and we're up into P18, and now swiftly onto the back of Sergio Perez, who's having a very bad Grand Prix. I don't know what's happened to him. We don't have enough time this afternoon to check out what's happened to him, but he's definitely had a bit of an issue this Grand Prix, whereas his teammate Valtteri Bottas, I believe, is still in a fight with Sebastian Vettel, technically, once Vettel makes his pit stop. We're very easily down the inside of him, and we're up into what was P17, and now closing up to the next Jaguar car. We're up into P14 as more people have made their pit stop, so, it was a little bit deceiving. We're in last place, but that was only due to others yet to make their pit stop. So now back onto another former teammate of mine down the inside of Van Dorn. He doesn't make it as easy as I wanted it to. We lose a tiny bit of time, but still good momentum here. Up into P13 now. Next car up is Dan Ricciardo on the medium tyres. He's going to the end of the Grand Prix, so we should have the pace to rapidly catch up to him. But meanwhile, we've now got Gasly finally in to the pit stops here. Sainz still going on for one more lap, so the Audis are really going quite long in this stint to make sure they're fresh on the end. I think, you know, Sainz has definitely a look in to maybe attack Verstappen at the end. But Gasly's onto a set of super soft tyres then down the pit lane. Where is he going to be in relation to Jack Aiken? Obviously, Jack with an earlier pit stop onto soft tyres, and that was it. I think that was the Renault as you go through turn 2. I think you just about see him go through turn 2 there, the Renault in blue. So where is Gasly going to feed out then? Just behind Aiken it will be, as Aiken closes up to some traffic though. So Gasly might have the traffic to thank, because it's going to be Gasly trying to chase after Aiken, and much like that, it also might be at the end of this Grand Prix, it might be Carlos Sainz chasing after Max Verstappen, so I'm going to have to hope the man I beat last race can do me a favour and hold up Carlos Sainz. But at the moment, we're just going to focus on what I can control, and that's where I finish here today. Down the inside then of Daniel Ricciardo on worn medium tyres. There's a lock up on the front left though, and Ricciardo, as he has done previously this season, gets the elbows out, and it's not making this fight easy. He goes across me on the racing line to block that move off, but another dive down the inside. We go wide on purpose and deep into the corner to get the place done, and we're up into P12. And now onto lap 31, we're going to go up the order a few more places, up into P10 now, as two more people make a pit stop. Thank you very much, whoever that is. And we're now in the points paying positions, but we only have 1 point to our name in P10 if we finish here, so I'm hoping more come in. Speaking about people coming in though, Carlos Sainz is finally in with only about 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix. He finally comes in for his last pit stop. Very unorthodox way to make this strategy work, but he's in nonetheless onto super soft tyres, and this is what I'm talking about now. He's on very fresh super softs. Verstappen's on worn-ish soft tyres now. He's back into the lead of the Grand Prix, the Mercedes man is though, but that Audi now is going to be absolutely on rails with that super soft compound, and obviously we know how good the Audi engine is. Maybe Sainz and Audi have saved up a bit of ERS deployment and they're going to turn it up to max, because I can only think that's the plan, because otherwise there's no reason to go this deep into the Grand Prix and leave it so late for a pit stop. So I'm pretty sure they're planning a major attack at the very end here, and Vettel, speaking about going deep, Vettel's going even longer into the Grand Prix than his teammate on these mediums, and Leclerc is held up behind him, but that will eventually turn into P3 for my teammates. Hulkenberg comes in, so that's one more free place up into P9, and with Vettel coming in as well onto super soft tyres there, up into P7, because there's also one other person in, and so I think this may be where we have to accept we're going to come, because up ahead is Giovinazzi on fresh tyres, so he's, I think that's pretty much where we're going to end up, I think P7. And so now, all I can do is really pray that this man, Max Verstappen, ahead of the man we're focusing on, Carlos Sainz, can keep him at bay. Verstappen didn't win the Spanish Grand Prix last time out. I spoiled the party. I'm hoping that Sainz can't spoil the party for him for a second time in a row, really. But here comes Sainz with some blistering pace, amazing speed down the straight, and all the grip in the world through the first few corners here. And unfortunately for my sake, you'll have DRS as well, and this is on the third last lap of the Grand Prix. Here goes Sainz v Verstappen. Verstappen goes to the inside, Sainz the long way round, but with DRS wide open, he gets that and cuts across the racing line as they enter Sector 2, and Carlos Sainz is into the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz won the Brazilian Grand Prix on his way to his one championship in 2020. What's the odds that that win at the Brazilian Grand Prix might just swing that championship for him? We've got 3 rounds left after this, but that's a big play. That's a big overtake for the Spaniard there in this season. Meanwhile, Gasly with an equally big overtake, to be fair, on the outside of Jack Aiken, as Aiken gets held up by the McLaren traffic there of Lando Norris on the medium tyres, and so Gasly is past and ahead of Aiken. And now, meanwhile, on the last lap of the second last lap of the Grand Prix, this is Valtteri Bottas chasing after Sebastian Vettel for the last points paying positions. Bottas round the outside. It's a big lockup though from the BMW car, but he still manages to hang on. I don't know how he's done that, but he's still somehow kept on track, and he's got ahead of the German then, and so he's up into P9. Can he now go after P8, which will be Stoffel Van Dorn? Van Dorn doing an excellent job in the Jaguar in the points paying position so far, but now Valtteri Bottas pressurising Van Dorn, and it's a lock up into Sector 2, and Bottas is down the inside, and so it's Bottas up into P8. It'll be P9 Van Dorn, P10 Sebastian Vettel, but Vettel's teammate Carlos Sainz will come through for the win at the Brazilian Grand Prix. He's literally waltzed away from Max Verstappen, who's had so much tyre wear in that Grand Prix. He's literally, he looks like he's got the track to his own. And so Carlos Sainz wins his second race of the 2022 season. And like I said, when he won his World Championship, Carlos Sainz, in 2020, he won the Brazilian Grand Prix. Is that a bad omen for me? Is that a bad omen for Pierre Gasly? We'll have to see. Only time will tell the last 3 rounds, but we just come home limping home in P7 after what was an assassination by the Renault, and that's the best damage limitation I could have done at the end of that race, from last to P7 there in the last third of that Grand Prix. But Carlos Sainz, with his 9th win of his career, the 2020 world champion, is now in the driving seat of the championship with that win, because Gasly comes home with 12 points there. I come home with only a couple of points. And so, as we go into the Drivers' Championship, Sainz was behind myself and Gasly in 3rd place. He's now swung himself right back up into the lead of the World Drivers' Championship, 8 points ahead of Gasly, and then a further 4 ahead of me in P3. It is not looking good for me. It is not even looking good for Pierre Gasly. That's a crucial win for the Spaniard there, and for Audi as well, because you got to say that's also going to be good for the constructors. But pretty much Ocon now is completely out of the championship fight. It is a 3-horse race with only 3 rounds to go, and the next round is the sprint race, the Joker race, effectively. It's all to play for there, but also at the same time, even if you win that Grand Prix, it's not going to be a whole of points compared to everyone else. So yeah, I think if it wasn't crunch time already, it is certainly now crunch time in the season. And I just don't know. We've never come back from this far back in a championship, I don't think. It is going to be a tall order, guys. It's going to be a tall order. And in the constructors as well, Audi now lead the way, 6 points ahead of Red Bull Racing. And Red Bull are further 7 points ahead of us in 3rd place. Me and Leclerc are going to have to do miracles if we want to try and get Ferrari a championship here in the 2022 season. But what a Grand Prix that has been. And when you thought it was going to go one way after the Spanish Grand Prix, it's just gone the complete other way now at the Brazilian Grand Prix. So guys, smash that like button if you have enjoyed that one. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and crucially get subscribed for those last 3 rounds of the 2022 Formula 1 season here in MyDriver. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.